Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you for joining me here today. This is your one-stop shop for cryptocurrency analysis, among other things. Now we're taking a look at Ethereum Classic. We're going to go ahead and identify some good entry points because it's probably likely at its lowest point for now. So we're going to see if we can kind of just get you some best practice and obviously identify, again, some good entry points here based on the current market, especially after Bitcoin had sold off again yesterday. So we'll see what happens here moving forward, but just know I'm not a financial advisor. This is always for educational purposes only. Do your own research. There's also $25 in Bitcoin from Voyager application down in the description below. Feel free to claim that and show your support on my Patreon, and of course communicate with our Telegram community too. Everything is in the description below. Feel free to link that at your own convenience. But for now, why don't we go ahead and get right to it. Let's check it out. Alright folks, let's take another look at Ethereum Classic. And before we do, if you're new to the channel, just know I always like to review Bitcoin and Ethereum first to get a baseline on what's going on in the market, just so we understand the big picture, what that's looking like. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at that now here. And Bitcoin, I think we're all probably pretty familiar with what happened yesterday, right? Unfortunate circumstance, of course. If you haven't tuned in or you don't know exactly what happened and why Bitcoin dropped so fast, it was just because Elon Musk tweeted the fact that Tesla is no longer accepting Bitcoin as a currency to go ahead and purchase their electronic vehicles. So that being said, it's no surprise the price came down. All these support and resistance levels don't really matter when you have some type of catalyst like that. And unfortunately, that's manipulated the market enough to have everything drop down in all of our wallets to minimize and essentially decrease 20 to 30%, right? So that's unfortunate, but all the same, this is where we're at now. So on Bitcoin, we're looking at the 4-hour chart. And by the way, this is the Binance desktop application. It is a trading view chart. And what we're looking at is the 4-hour chart, of course. And what I want to note is that the 3 moving averages, 50, 100, and 200-day moving averages, which are my favorite, they're the most relevant on the 4-hour chart. They're really null and void at this point because the price dropped down so quick. They're still hovering around 56,000, between 56 and 57,000. But something to note, we have a previous support level of 53,300 that was broken, potential new resistance level. Same thing as well with 57,000 and 59,500. Okay, so we got some work to cut out for us here on Bitcoin in order to get back on track. Every resource that I look at indicates that we are still in a bullish market. It's just a matter of how Bitcoin is interpreted moving forward. It's going to be interesting, but we likely see a migration towards a lot of other altcoins. We'll see what happens. But this is Bitcoin on the 4-hour chart. Looking at Ethereum on the 4-hour chart, same scenario, kind of. Obviously, you can tell that Ethereum does very well when Bitcoin doesn't. But when you see this little consolidation periods here, that's when Bitcoin was trying to figure out if it wants to be 53,000 or 57,000. Now that we're in this situation here, Ethereum is probably going to do the same. So it'll probably do a little bit of consolidation and ramp back up, but it tends to recover quickly because when Bitcoin sells off, majority of investors or just common folk like us, they jump over into Ethereum and the price goes up because of that, right? It's like the second major coin in the industry, so people just go ahead and flock over there. So I wouldn't be surprised if Ethereum recovers and gets back up to about 4,400 in the near future. But the 50-day moving average is working as a support, which is nice with a slight variance, but that variance is just because of Bitcoin, what happened. So I would speculate that the price will continue to bounce and move back up to recover as per usual, which is standard for Ethereum. Now let's take a look at Ethereum Classic. It's been a few days since I looked at it last. And this is just the 4-hour chart. We'll look at the 1-day chart first and work our way down. In fact, why don't we just do that right now? Because I always like to look at the bird's eye view first, kind of see what's going on, because if you don't know the overall movement in the market and how it got to where it went, or where it got and where it came from, then you're not going to truly understand how to, your position right now on a small scale, right? Because yes, you can look at the 1-minute chart, take a good entry, and find a good exit point, but you'll kind of get lucky if you don't know the big picture, right? So looking at the big picture really helps us, and we can see here that there was 1, 2, 3, 4, basically 5 super strong bull runs. Now, the good thing that happened here is you see this one short period of consolidation after the first major increase, and then it just went on a tear after that. So good news is it slowed down a little here, but bad news is it went up way too fast, way too quick. And when that happens, there has to be a significant retracement. And the retracements are almost always 50 to 60% back in the direction it came from. So I mean, you look at this here, it started roughly in this position, went up 315%. And then of course, in the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days, the last 1 week, the price has come down almost 50%. So as you can tell, that where the price is at right now is no surprise. Obviously, I feel the price would be a little bit higher if Bitcoin hadn't done its thing yesterday. We can kind of see that here. But nonetheless, this could potentially be a good buying opportunity. So just bear that in mind. But that's the 1 day chart. Also note the RSI is in pretty good shape. It's well under 70, kind of mid 50s, and that's a good sign for essentially an affordable price. In other words, the price is approximately where it should be according to the RSI, as well as the fact that the MACD is swinging down. That does imply that we are in a bearish sentiment, but that could easily shift and easily change. I don't put a lot of weight in the MACD on the 1 day chart. 4 hour chart makes a lot more sense. Why don't we go and take a look at that too here and just see what's going on. So 4 hour chart for Ethereum Classic. Now, first of all, RSI is really low. In fact, it hit its lowest point yesterday, almost hit 30, which is essentially just, anytime you see an RSI close to 30, it's traditionally a good time to buy. Basically just means the price has been driven down so hard that there's going to be an opposite retracement. It's going to retrace back up, so to speak, right? So we're likely seeing that right now in this period of consolidation. So I would say that we're in a pretty good shape right now for an affordable price. The price is also bouncing off the 100-day moving average. I think that's just coincidence based on the Bitcoin sell-off yesterday, but generally speaking, that is working as a support. And the MACD as well. Honestly, doesn't matter too much at this point because it's so low, but it does kind of imply that we're likely going to see a shift in bullish momentum, perhaps in the near future. It really just shows us that the price has been extremely bearish for quite some time, pretty much exactly 6 to 7 days since the price had started to sell off. So no surprises there. And then obviously I had this previous wedge pattern that it did actually break up and then eventually consolidated and broke down. So it did essentially work itself into a funnel, but we don't necessarily need that anymore. We'll go and extend out this support line or current resistance level, which is right at about 110. So that would be our next major milestone to get to, is 110. Okay. Not much else to note here. I want to look a little closer at the 15, but for now just note 110 is probably the next potential resistance level. And what's happened here too, if you notice, anytime there's been a support or resistance line that's broken, Ethereum Classic has a tendency of breaking through it really hard. So within 1 4-hour period, we saw a decrease in price here of almost, right, a little over 20%. Now it stabilized and came back up, but just note that anytime there's a breakthrough or above or below, you'll see almost a similar occurrence there. 20% here, 19% there. It may very well work its way up and then shoot right through this resistance level. It just has a history of doing that. And also note too, patterns tend to repeat themselves, but they don't have to, right? You'll hear me say that a lot. And what I mean by that is that pattern like that should likely happen again. It may never happen again. We never truly know, but in in cryptocurrency, trends tend to reoccur more frequently. Okay, even a lot more than a traditional stock or ETF, futures, whatever the case. You'll see that more with this, just because there's a tremendous amount of volatility with the social sentiment that influences cryptocurrency. That's conversation for another day, but just something to note. But that's kind of what we're looking at for the 4-hour. Let's go ahead and look at the 15 here for Ethereum Classic. So obviously we see this major sell-off here. Same trend, you'll see this probably on almost every single chart, minus Nano coincidentally, but we see this right here, this little price decrease. 76 was the lowest point. It came back up and there was like a second minor sell-off from Bitcoin, so that's what this is here. But currently we're looking at RSI is creeping back up. Not super important right now. As long as the RSI stays under 70, we're good. And what I mean by that is there's, in order to have a successful bull run, the RSI usually peaks up over 70, comes back down, calms down, comes back. It basically has short periods of consolidation between these little microbursts. So ideally what we want to see for Ethereum Classic is for the price to continue to do what it's doing now, and then have short periods of consolidation and increase. In other words, up, over, and kind of continue that for the duration of its time frame here to get up over this resistance of 110. Now let's turn off these moving averages, and we'll turn on the VWAP and the EMA. And if you're new to the channel, I use the EMA more specifically on the 1 minute chart, but I turn it on the 50-minute chart because it kind of helps me. And this is the EMA 15, by the way. It's not the 9 or the 20. So it's an exponential moving average, and I use 15 to split the difference. So instead of two little charts that are kind of going concurrent with each other, I'd much rather use just 115. It works very well for me personally. Use what you'd like, but that's the best indicator I've noticed to be able to kind of understand what the actual momentum is in the market, right? So before we look at the EMA, let's look at the VWAP line. And the volume weighted average price is nice. It's my favorite indicator of all time because it takes the volume of the last 24 hours and provides that average volume as a price. So it tells you what the price should be right now based on the volume of the last 24 hours. So we're literally right at the price of what it should be. So I mean, based on the volume, again, more bearish volume, we're looking at $91, and basically just $92 is essentially what the VWAP is at right now. Now what it is, it works as a support and resistance level that's continuous. It works with your price action a lot faster than a traditional moving average. That's based on days average, not just 1 day or 24 hours. So it's helpful there because anytime the price is underneath, you can see it's kind of being held underneath this VWAP line. So it's currently holding under VWAP, so until the price comes above and gives us confirmation that it's staying above, there'd probably be no reason to want to take entry. We need that confirmation. Again, I'm conservative myself. I don't like to chase the bottom. We can use the EMA to do that, but in this sense here with the VWAP, price being under VWAP, that is essentially a resistance line. In my head, I see that. And until I get 2 solid green bars closing above this line, I'm not going to bother. I'm not going to bother to take entry. And when I say 2 solid green bars, this one, for example, here hasn't closed above the VWAP line, so that's not a solid green bar. A solid green bar is going to close above that line and essentially give us confirmation of what we're doing. Okay, so it'll tell us that the price is, yes, it's confirmed to have broken the resistance line. It's now working as a support. Now, it's not 100% foolproof, but it's more likely than not. Like for example here, you saw these 2 solid green bars above VWAP. That was a good sign, and the price likely would have continued back up. However, Bitcoin had its own agenda, came all the way back down right here. So just something to note. Again, it's not foolproof, but it increases your odds, and you're no longer gambling if you use a scenario like this, right? You're making a very educated guess or risk, if you will. Okay, so that's just kind of how the VWAP line works. Now, why don't we look at the 1 minute chart just to identify kind of where we're at here. Again, there's the volume weighted average price right at about $92. Price is under VWAP, so until it breaks above and stays above, I have no reason to want to take entry. And what we'll do is we'll turn on the EMA line, and here's how this is helpful. So if you look at the EMA, you see these, the price being above and or below, but you see that it commonly stays above and below for longer periods. So on the 1 minute chart, if you use the EMA line, the best thing to do to take entry is to essentially wait for 3 solid green bars. In other words, let's take a closer look here. So just for example, when you see a solid green bar, and what I mean by solid green bar is it has to close above that level, right? So let's just take a look here. So we got this, no 3 solid green bars. Of course, there's one right there, but that was a little too close. I'm more so referring to one that's closer to the bottom of its momentum. So when it comes down, it tests this line twice. And what happens is you see these 3 solid green bars. That's what I look for in order to take entry. Okay. In other words, you see these 3 solid green bars, just say you took entry right here. See the price come up and it bounces off the EMA and it keeps going up. That's the case in point where it confirms its price, it doesn't reverse back down, and you have consistent price action. Now, however long you decide you want to hold is up to you, but I prefer to wait for the price to come up and then to essentially, pay attention to the RSI, right? So do you see how right here the RSI was too high? So I'd likely just take a position as soon as I get that third confirmation and hold my position right up there until it hits the 70 on the RSI, and then I would essentially go ahead and sell. So 3% gain, that's great. That's what I love to see, a 1 to 3% gain on a day trade. It's fine by me. I can take that all day. So I'd probably be doing that, or I'd consider adding to my position depending on how the price action does here. Because again, the price is staying above the EMA line. So that does tell you there's confirmation still in bullish momentum trending upwards. Okay. So another case in point here, of course, you see another 3 solid green bars. This close. Oops, that's not the right one. Let's do this right here. These 3 solid green bars are closing above. So it'd be a good consideration to take entry right there. Okay, so you kind of see a common trend there. That's how you use the EMA line. Because just say you turn off this EMA line, you're kind of shooting in the dark. You might take entry down here, and yes, you might get lucky, but it could reverse on you. You always want to wait for the price to come above the EMA line and or the VWAP line. So preferably, we see the price break up here. So preferably what I'd like to see is the price come up here, stay above the EMA line, but also break above the VWAP line and hold for at least 3 minutes. That would be a case in point where I would like to take entry. Because again, we're getting double confirmation. We're getting the EMA 15 and the volume weighted average price, both working as support levels instead of trying to work our way into a channel of a support and resistance. Because right now, if you took entry and it doesn't break, you would run the risk of the price reversing on you. Okay. Again, these are just ways of increasing your odds and entry points, right? So you can apply this literally to any form of trading, both swing trading and day trading. It makes more sense as a day trader to do this, because really the 15-minute chart, I feel, is a really good chart to use for more so short-term swing trading. So if I'm trading for just say 1 day to 24 hours or more, essentially less than 30 days. So just say roughly 1 day to 1 month. Then I'm planning to take entry on the 15-minute chart. I will pay attention to these 2 indicators, and I will ensure that I have confirmation above VWAP and EMA with no less than 30 minutes total, 2 solid green bars closing. But if you want to get on a smaller sentiment there and kind of look at the 1-minute chart, feel free. Just be sure to pay attention to no less than 3 solid green bars above EMA, preferably above VWAP. Okay. That's all I have for you here. So I guess big picture, just to summarize, let me just summarize here. On the 15-minute chart, I mean, looking at this here, this price action is very normal. It's making lower lows and lower highs, right? So when it does that, it'll eventually find its bottom. I feel like we're probably pretty close to its bottom because this has been tested 2 or 3 times already. So I guess if we were to mark a support level, let's do that really quick. It'd probably be somewhere in the range of about 82.50. Actually, right here, this was tested as a resistance before, even better. So I'd say 81.60. That's likely the current support level. Just bear in mind, 110 is a major resistance. So until we break through that plane, we may not see a significant run, if you will, until then. But between now and then, find a good entry point, wait for VWAP confirmation, EMA line on the 15 and or 1-minute chart, and you'll be looking good. So that is all I have for you today. I hope you found this beneficial. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Telegram community down below too. There's a link in the description. Also, feel free to support me on Patreon if you have any consideration for that. I really appreciate all. Nonetheless, there is we do have a private Discord channel through Patreon if you're interested. So we'll see you in the next video. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Appreciate your time. Thank you.